And it's 9 p.m. So we always start on time. So we are going to start right now. So first and foremost, okay, let me know how are you guys feeling. You know, if you're feeling excited, you know, type in the chat box now, excited. Yeah, so who's excited? Yay! Okay, so we have many excited people out there. Spencer, Tracy, YY, PL. Okay, awesome. Okay, so my first question is, I'm going to launch a poll, okay? So we have to see whether you guys are participating. So this is going to be an interactive session. So we want you guys to participate. So first question is, where are you from? Okay, yeah, you should see it in front of you right now. Yes, I think Sharon also want to hear where are you from. Okay, so Singapore is leading. Okay, I think almost 70% of people are from Singapore right now. We have Malaysia, of course, and Hong Kong, Indonesia. Wow, we have from Thailand. And of course, we have others as well. Wow. Okay, awesome. So let's see. Okay, it's still coming in the answers. Okay, so I'm going to end my first poll and I'm going to send my second poll, which is, would like to find out, is this actually your first time attending our webinars? Yeah, so do let us know, you know, is this your first time, second time, or, you know, you love our seminars and webinars and you've been attending for many, many times. Okay, so quite a lot of first timer. So almost half of you are attending for the first time, but of course we have a lot of you who are attending for the second and the third time as well. Welcome back, you know, like so happy to have all of you join us. And my next question is, okay. So especially for those of you who have attended, you know, like for the second, third, or even fourth time, what do you like most about our webinar? So you can choose multiple answers. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so thank you. Some of you are, a lot of you are very nice, all of the above. So you think that it's educational, it's relevant, it's insightful, speakers and panelists, and it's inspiring and motivational. Awesome. Thank you for your support. Okay, so again, for today, of course, you know, like we want to constantly be bringing you educational and relevant content, and we also want it to be inspiring and motivational. So, you know, I've been thinking, who should I bring to meet you next? And I'm so excited today to bring onto our webinar today Miss Sharon out. So I believe most of you would be very familiar with her, but even so, I should do an introduction. So Sharon is first talent spotter in Toy Factory's remake of Hong Kong stage musical I Have a Date with Spring in 1995. And since then, you know, she has appeared in many different dramas, many different shows, you know, like including Eric Khoo's One Leg Kicking in 2001, Jack Neo's I Do, opposite Adrian Pang in 2004. And I think, you know, like all of us know that Sharon is effectively bilingual. And she has been on many of Media Core charity shows, and she has also been the main host of the National Day Parade for 8 consecutive years. Yeah, Sharon, like when I was in UK, right, I remember watching you hosting some of these shows. And of course, you know, she has clinched the Best Variety Show Host Award for 4 consecutive years, Best Comedy Performer, and Top 10 Most Popular Female Artist award at the Star Awards for 6 consecutive years, you know, before leaving for Japan to further her studies. And that's why, you know, I'm very excited to have with her today to really share with us her journey, and also to share with us, you know, our topic for today, which is the only constant in life is change. And with that, I'd like to bring on screen Sharon. Sharon, they can hear you
Hello.
now.
Oh, now they
Hello.
can hear me. Can they see
Yes,
me
yes.
too?
Yes, yes, they can
Hello,
see you as well.
everyone. Bonjour. Bonjour, everyone.
Yeah, so everybody is saying, hi, Sharon. Yeah, so Sharon, you know,
Hello.
how have you been? You know, like since the last time we met, I think we met either end of last year or early this year when you were back in Singapore.
Yeah, I think that was January. I
Yes,
think
in
at
January, that's right.
the yeah, yeah. I've
Yeah,
been
so
good.
how
I've
have you
been
been
good.
since then? Mm-hmm.
I've been
What have you been up
okay.
to?
Uh okay, most of the time we have been confined.
Mm-hmm.
France underwent a lockdown. So
Yes.
because I came back to Paris, and then right after that, there was a very long lockdown,
Mm-hmm.
same as you now.
Yes, yes, yes. So are you out of lockdown right now in Paris?
Yeah, yeah. This is our ninth day of so-called freedom. So
Oh, that's nice.
we are free to go out to work.
Yes. Yes, yes.
But the streets are still rather empty because people are still cautious. And
Yes,
then we had to wear masks. I think basically it is a very universal issue. What you are
yes.
facing in Singapore is also exactly what we are facing here in Europe.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
have they lifted like some of the restrictions, or like there are still some restrictions put in place? Because, for example, like Singapore,
Mm,
I just saw like maybe 10 minutes ago that even though school is supposed to reopen in June, but actually, they are putting in some measures to like maybe like for example, my son and my daughter, they will go in on week 1, then they
mm,
will stay at home on week 2, and then go back to school on week 3. So things like that. Is that similar
right.
in Paris as well?
Yeah. So we are slowly but progressively lifting the entry back to society because we don't
Mm-hmm.
want. I'm sure it's the same. Like we don't want people to suddenly flock out into the open and start a second wave
Yes.
of infection. So
Yes,
here,
yes.
all our restaurants and cafes, they are still closed,
Okay.
but they can open only for delivery services.
Yes.
And
So have you still been enjoying your local Singaporean food? Because I've been following your Instagram, and I see that you get this like really very yummy looking Singaporean food delivered to you.
Yeah, because I have a one and only Singaporean restaurant opened by, of course, a Singaporean
Yes, yes,
Pearl
yes.
Lee,
Yeah.
the Hood Paris, and I depended on her throughout my 64 days of confinement. Yeah, but her chefs would cook nasi lemak and laksa and kaya toast, things that are
Wow.
very comforting for the soul. And in fact, just
Yes.
before this chat, I just
Mm-hmm.
went to the ambassador's house because
Yes.
Mrs. Ambassador cooked nasi lemak, and
Oh my
yeah,
goodness, that's so sweet.
so she kept one portion for me. So I took the
Mm-hmm.
trottinette, the e-scooter.
Yes,
I
yes.
rode to her house and then I rode back, very happy with the nasi lemak. So
Oh,
now,
so is it
now I'm
is it in your
very
tummy right
happy,
now?
and yes, it's long gone in my tummy. Together with she also prepared kaya bread, no, kaya kueh.
Oh,
So I'm a
wow.
very
So
happy
you are,
person now.
yeah, so you actually do get very authentic Singaporean food even though you are now in Paris.
See, this is something about I guess Singaporeans, we really stick together. So even when we
Yes.
are in a foreign land, we do look out for each other. I have
Mm-hmm.
many messages on Instagram,
Yes.
just reaching out and just chatting
Yes, yes.
and sharing tips, sharing
Yes.
delivery tips, where to get flowers, where to
Wow.
yeah, where to buy Nutella biscuit, which is my favorite. I cannot stop eating. It's still here because it's
Wow.
only available in Paris, in France, and certain parts of Europe. It's
Wow. How
very,
how
very
how do
limited.
you like, stay so slim like when your favorite biscuit is Nutella biscuit?
Yeah, because no, because I follow this savage fitness workout,
Mm-hmm.
created by my two godsons,
Yeah.
Ethan and Kiefer.
Yes.
Yeah, they started a Fit Joe video on YouTube, so I've been following very diligently and keeping my weight constant at 50.9
Wow.
kilograms.
So precise, 50.9 kilogram. We are learning so many things about Sharon today, like her favorite biscuit, and now we even know her weight.
My weight. And
Yeah, so
50.9 was before the nasi lemak. I didn't dare to weigh myself after the nasi lemak.
so other than having very authentic Singaporean food, and of course like working out, like with your godson's YouTube channel, like have you developed any other new hobbies or new skills during the lockdown?
Oh, I mean, it's the same story because I see everyone sharing the same new hobby, which is baking
Yes.
for
Yeah.
some reason, and especially banana bread. I don't know why. Probably because
Mm.
it's one of the simplest recipes to follow. Yeah, I
Yes.
baked a banana bread, cinnamon cookies, chocolate chip cookies. I never baked in my life except secondary two for home economics class,
Mm-hmm.
which I failed very gloriously. uh, but I think baking is so therapeutic. That's why
Mm-hmm.
people when you're confined at home, you find this way of expressing your love for your loved ones.
Yeah. So
For
do
me,
you like
in my
send it
case,
to your friends and
no, they didn't dare to eat. So in my case, I just baked for myself. They didn't dare to eat because they don't want to die of food poisoning.
they just haven't tried it. Maybe it's like very yummy.
It is. It is very yummy.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really yummy. And I found a trick. My first few batches were quite bad because they were quite burnt.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Mm-hmm.
trick is to go buy ice cream and then just smother all over your failed product, because ice cream just makes everything taste delicious.
Okay, so we have learned another tip from Sharon. Yeah, so if you're
Yes,
not a good baker, don't worry, always just get ice cream. So
yes,
we have one of our viewers today who say, Christine says, sour cream is my secret ingredient for banana bread.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yes, yes. I found it in one of the recipes I didn't follow. And then later
Mm-hmm.
when I realized that that is actually the secret weapon, the sour
Oh.
cream. So some people
Mm.
replace with yogurt,
Mm-hmm.
but we stick to sour cream. This is becoming like 午后闲情, like the afternoon leisure program on Channel 8. Suddenly we're
Yeah,
talking about cooking here.
and then we have Ting Jun who says, I know you always bake pineapple tarts during Chinese New Year. Yeah.
Oh, no, that's my mom. I just eat. I mean, I just stand at the side and pretend to do something useful, like roll the pineapple into, because my mom is very adamant that the pineapple has to be rolled into a round ball, even though
Mm-hmm.
eventually she still presses it shapelessly onto the dough. Yeah, but I
Yeah.
do that. She has been trying
Okay.
for 25 years to pass down this family recipe, but
Yes, yes.
I have yet to master it.
Yeah. So for me as well, like my mom, she doesn't make pineapple tarts, but she cooked this really good zai choy for Chinese New Year. And I always say I want to learn
Ah,
how to make it, and I still haven't learned how to
yeah.
make it as well. So this year what I did was I did a video of it. So I was hoping maybe one day I would watch the video and learn how to make it. We shall see.
But is these are the traditions that need to be kept and passed down to the next
Yes.
generation. But I'm so
Yes,
afraid it's
yes,
just
yes.
gonna die at our generation. But
Yes, that's
that
true.
seems like the case. Because sometimes it's
Yeah.
not just about following recipe. It's that personal touch. You see, I followed
Yes.
recipes, but they still taste terrible.
I have no talent in baking at all. Like I'm supposed to put in sugar and then I ended up putting it salt.
Well done,
So
well
so
done.
obviously by the time the cake is made, it's like yeah, yes.
It's like salted caramel. Not
Yes,
bad. Now
but in a very
I
bad
really
way.
feel, yeah, I feel so much better. Thank you, Violet.
Yeah, so if you think you can't bake, just remember me and you are like fantastic. Okay, so I think like you say, rather than we keep talking about food, which is what we usually do when Singaporeans get together. So I mean, so happy to have you today. And after your last sharing with us at an event that I attended, right? I thought it's just so relevant, especially at this point during COVID-19, during
Mm,
this lockdown situation. And I thought your story is so I would say relevant. So maybe
mm.
you can share with us like your growing up years and like also the different career transitions that you have had. And I think those are also some of the questions that our participants they have been very curious about also, like of the many questions I've sent you, right? Like yeah, like wow, like how did you do it? Yeah.
No, but we only have 45 minutes left.
Yeah.
So if I talk about my growing up years, it will be, through the night. So I think you better look out for my book.
Yes, yes, yes.
Which I would try to describe in detail what happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, but in a nutshell, I think yeah, when I shared with you at that
Mm-hmm.
event,
Yes.
that was before COVID-19, right?
Yes, that was just before
Yeah,
COVID-19. Like, who would have
yeah,
thought,
yeah,
like, right 1 month after that, like, everything just
yep,
went
yep. It
crazy?
was,
Yes.
yes, yes. So I think what has always been the way I function, whether is it
Yes.
impulse or rash or just being plain stupid, is to just seize the moment. Like just live life fearlessly, because
Mm-hmm.
I have been so fearful my entire beginning of my life, where everything seemed to be insecure, and I don't really have a complete family. And at that time, because I was young, so I didn't know that actually most of the people in the world were also in my shoes. So you thought you are the
Yes.
only unfortunate one. So
Yes.
how, I think at the end of the day, one thing really stood out for me, was friends. The support of friends in school, in all my ECAs, the people whose paths I've crossed so fortunately. I think everyone I've met has given me the strength. So, in a nutshell, don't do everything by yourself. Don't don't be a hero. Reach out and ask for help, even though at times it can be really embarrassing. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
So we have some of our participants who say like we say you're an amazing woman. I hope I can be like you one day. And we have Eileen who actually say, when is your book launching? Yeah.
oh yeah. I think because I've written up to chapter 7,
Mm.
but as I write, I realize that I will be the only person in this world to be interested in reading the entire sob story, because
I think you are too modest.
no, it's true, because we tend to be self-centered. So like the things that happen to us seem to be the most important, like is the only thing that mattered. But after a while, if you just get out of yourself and stop being so full of yourself, you realize that your story isn't that unique anyway.
Nicole say, I will buy and read, please launch. Like in response to what you have just said. So Sharon, I think
Thank you.
like there's this saying like the only constant in life is change. Like, do you agree?
Yeah.
Like, what are your thoughts on this statement? And do you think change is truly or always necessary?
Okay. You see, since I was young, I've
Yeah.
always moved from one family to another because my
Yeah.
parents were not able to take care of me. So for
Yeah.
me, change is a yearly thing. Every year, I just moved into a new relative's house. Usually, it's a flat, and there will be many other kids there. Because my relatives are, on the whole, below average, the income group. So, they already have so much issues feeding themselves. So suddenly there's this skinny duck and not very lovable young toddler who came in and eat an extra bowl of rice. Is actually very stressful. So every year I adjusted, so-called my personality to fit the families. So you try to make yourself invisible because you don't want to be in their way because there's so many people in the house. And then you try to make yourself helpful. So you try and do all the housework so that they would feel that you're contributing. Because my parents just left me there without giving them any pocket money. So they
Mm-hmm.
were doing a good deed, you see. So yeah, so because I grew up under such circumstance, it was a, it was very second nature to me when things change. In fact, when things don't change, it is when things are stagnant, that became like a nightmare to me. And so I realized after much psychoanalysis, I always moved and changed my destiny whenever I see that it's reaching a plateau. So it was what happened
Mm.
to me when I was acting for 10 years on TV. And then when things became so comfortable and I was so called, at the peak,
Yes,
or
that's right.
enjoying my career, I just felt very uncomfortable. And then I had to pack and flew to Tokyo to pursue
Mm-hmm.
a university degree. And it was the
Mm-hmm.
same thing when I came back and served my bond. And then when things got too comfortable because I was promoted to a certain rank and file where you get things done very easily.
Yeah.
And then you start feeling, for me, I started really feeling too pampered and too easy. Because you're at that age where people give face to you, so everything comes really quite effortlessly. So that's when I decided again to move to Paris and start life from zero. So I noticed I have this tendency to sabotage my own happiness. Because really, really, many of my close friends are like, why are you doing this to yourself when you always pack up and leave and start from zero whenever you're at the most comfortable point in your life? You don't seem to want to enjoy wealth and fame. So, okay, let me talk to my psychiatrist and get back to you.
Okay, so we have some new participants who have joined us. So welcome. Right now we are talking to Sharon, and about the only constant in life is change. And Sharon is as always very humble, very modest, and always keeping it very real. I think there's like every single time I hear you sharing, I just learn so much, because I think you don't try to, I don't, sometimes people are always just talking about their success stories, or just about what they've done and things like that. But I think you always just keep it very real, and you just really share your deepest feelings. So we have Hui
Mm.
Fen, who say I feel the same, complacency kills me. And then we have Anne. Oh yeah, so I mean, Anne has a question. So
Mm.
how does one seek opportunities overseas if we are not as well connected or high up as you?
Yeah. So no. So when I came here, I was like, I was a nobody. So
Mm,
you just have to do the most fundamental step of looking for a job. So you start putting together your resume, which was really something new to me, because then I realized all my life I hadn't needed to go for a job interview, because it was show business, and then it was media cup scholarship, and then it came very naturally without me having to try. So yeah, when I moved to Paris, it was shock, culture shock, humility shock, and financial shock. So I started to put together a resume, and then I sent many to many organizations, and they all rejected me. because because to them it's like, okay, your experience and your job experience are like nothing outstanding. You're not extraordinary. You didn't graduate from any super elite schools. You're not from any of the Ivy Leagues. So, in an international job market, I was a complete failure. So yeah, that was something I never hesitated to share with people, so that you guys will know. um, uh, it's quite a competitive market now. So it's better to stay in Singapore, because at least Singaporeans are kinder, and then they give me face, they'll look at me and like, oh, you are that 1980s superstar, right? Okay. You can go and photocopy some things.
yeah, so Sharon, I think on that note, right, it's like I understand what you say, like every time you feel that you have reached like kind of a plateau, then you always would want to look for a change to challenge yourself, I guess, to a certain extent. So
Yeah.
I think like you say, because you, okay, maybe you didn't want to stay on in Singapore, where it's very comfortable, and everybody knows you. But of all the places, why do you decide to choose Paris? Because obviously, you could have chosen like I mean, one of our participants just now mentioned that they are in UK, like where people speak
Mm.
English, like maybe it's more of similar culture. It's something maybe you're more comfortable with. Like, so what was the reason you decided to choose France?
It was the same reason why I chose Tokyo as my venue for my university pursuit, because I didn't want to go to an English speaking country, because I
Mm,
wanted to make myself as uncomfortable, as outcast as possible, so that I would be forced to learn a new language. And in doing so, you learn to live with a new civilization, with new cultures, new norms, so that I can stop being so precautious. I have been a very proud person. I thought too highly of myself, so I wanted to break down and deconstruct that Sharon out whom I really didn't like at that point. So it's the same thing for Paris. I wanted to go to a city where I'm not familiar with, especially in terms of communication. But fortunately, I took French when I was in university. So to me, I thought, okay, then it shouldn't be that difficult. But I was wrong. It was very difficult. You see, another example of me being too overly confident on myself. I thought, oh, it's easy, be brave and, just trust your instincts. And I came here and died.
So on like say a scale of like 1 to 10 in terms of fluency, right? Like where are you for your French? Like 10 being actually, the like native speaker.
I think I'm very good. I'm very good. I speak very well. But nobody understood. Okay. I think I'm an 8. It's just that my pronunciation is so, according to my French friends, it's just so British. Like it's just so English. So they always laugh at me, and then a lot of times they couldn't understand what I was saying because of my pronunciation. Yeah. So fortunately, so this is a lesson to everyone. When you can't speak very well, try and do a lot of sign language. Put a lot of expressions on your face so that people, even when they don't understand you, they could see, they are captivated by your weird expressions, Imagine you're like so bored, right? Imagine your face is very straight and poker face, and then you try and say and nobody understood you, they will walk away. But for me, they will be captivated and engaged for at least 5 minutes.
And then you'll try to understand what you're trying to say.
Exactly. And this really helped me when I first arrived because I was asking for many information. There were a lot of procedures, processes, immigration, blah, blah, blah. So you just have to look like an eager beaver, like, okay, I love your country. I love your language. Please forgive me because I'm like an idiot.
Yeah, so we have Karen who say, I really admire your honesty and your guts. And then Ting Jun who say you're very talented to know many languages. We also have a question here, right? So which is in reply to some of the things that we shared earlier. So how did you break through the cycle of defeat and despair to like rise up the corporate career ladder despite your difficult upbringing?
I think the difficult upbringing helped me, if there's anything else, because it doesn't cushion me that much. So I think I've always been always very wary, always not very trusting of people, and that worked in the office environment. Because corporate world, you just have to be very careful, watch what you say, and and the other thing that I felt that it became an advantage. So when I was young, I thought I was the most pathetic, poor child abandoned. But then I realized I could read people's moods very easily. I can feel when the mood change or when I'm going to be caned or not. So that was an advantage because then I developed a very high EQ and I could sort of sense the tides. So it made me a much more, I would say, clever or street smart. I'm not sure. But these are all adjectives to describe sort of like a very negative way, right? It has a negative prerogative in it. But it helped me in my work. It helped me definitely in showbiz.
And in the corporate world right now as well, as you say, like you say in the office, you have to you need to kind of see what is your boss thinking, what is your colleague, thinking.
Yes. And and I thought I have really mastered the art of working in a corporate environment. Again, I thought, I'm like so cunning, so manipulative, very clever, right? Then I came to France, died.
Wow.
Still cannot make it. ultimately there is still I'm not sure how to say it without sounding bad, and because it has a very political under nuance, but
Mm-hmm.
the Chinese Asian values,
Mm-hmm.
the whole like 人之初性本善, like we are all
Yes, yes,
good people, we're all
yes,
kind,
yes,
and the
yes,
whole like do not forget the hands that fed you. So and
yes,
all the when you drink water, think of its source. I'm reciting
yes,
all these
yes, yes.
Chinese
Yeah, 饮水
Chinese
思源.
sayings.
Yes,
Yes, yes.
yes,
Because ultimately I came from a Chinese educated secondary school. St. Nicholas was
yeah,
very, very Chinese.
yes.
So there's still that in us. But then you come to Europe, where it's not so much that it is the value systems are not the same.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no good or bad. It's just that we have very different value
Value
systems.
system. Yes.
Yes, yes.
So
So
so how did you overcome that,
difficult.
or what kind of strategies, what kind of coping strategies that you have put in place then?
Yeah, so no, so there are many times where I really had to question, like, am I doing the right thing, or should I behave the way they do, because just so that you when in Rome you just do as the Romans do. So I
Mm-hmm.
did try that as well. That sort of worked, but then because it went against your DNA, so you feel very not yourself. Then you try and say, okay, don't let's not be affected by our environment. Just be yourself and be good. Okay, that is the worst decision, because that you just get killed. Okay,
Okay.
that you just get bullied till you die. So
Yes.
I guess in everything it's the same. You just try to find the moderation,
Mm-hmm.
and try not to lose yourself. That's why I kept saying friends are very important, because when in doubt, you just call home, call up your BFF, and then everything will be sort of back to balance,
Yeah. Very
right?
nice. Thank you for that. Yeah. So we have another question which is probably quite relevant to what you have just shared as well. So
Mm.
Sumya Dip say, how do you handle bad bosses?
Alamak, this one started from Singapore already. Bad bosses are everywhere, regardless of countries, borders, regardless whether you're which part of the country, with the world you're in. I think
Mm-hmm.
bad bosses. I would let's not say bad bosses. It's just like I think difficult and unreasonable people are everywhere. And I
Mm-hmm.
think at some point when I became a VP, I mean at some point when I was running a department, I
Yep.
think I was also one of the very bad bosses, because I've colleagues
How
and
did you know you were one of the bad bosses?
of course I knew, because they complained about me on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
And it's like it's very obvious you're talking about me. So but it was good. I was very happy that I knew about what my colleagues thought of me, because
Mm-hmm.
at some point I became the type of bosses which I have been criticizing my whole life. So you don't want to be something, and then in the end you end up being that horrible person. It was so sobering for me. I was like, ah! It means like, what did I do to myself? What have I become? Why have I changed? Why did I do this to my fellow colleagues? So I remember when I quit, resigned from MediaCorp. I spent the last week of my last week in MediaCorp. I just sent a lot of emails apologizing to people and saying like, I just remember writing so many emails, very heartfelt ones, and telling them that I'm so sorry that I misbehaved, because
Mm-hmm.
your head just got too big, like you just become like a different person. You just become very mean. I don't know what happened to me.
Mm.
So okay, another lesson for the world today.
Yes.
Always have checks, in checks and balances, because or else you morphed into becoming a person whom you absolutely dislike, and that is very bad for your health
So
when you
was
start
it when
disliking
you
yourself.
was it when you saw the Facebook comments or posts that you realized that you have morphed into this person, or what are some of the other signs that make you realize that, hey, I'm becoming someone that I actually do not want to be?
Okay, the first sign is when nobody wants to go for lunch breaks with you. When everybody like, oh, it's okay, I'm not hungry. No, I'm just gonna eat a sandwich. It's fine. No, when you realize you have no lunchtime kaki, you have no lunch actually. Okay, that you need to look into yourself and reflect. That was the first symptom.
Yep. And Eunice say, I can't imagine you being that kind of person.
Neither can I. I cannot imagine. But I think circumstances really, when you don't check yourself and you become too complacent, or I think I was just an overachiever. So I think we tend to be like this. You're promoted, and then you want to do more to prove yourself so that you can be promoted again. So you kept chasing the numbers. You just crave to satisfy your bosses. So in doing so, you cascade down, and it's a very vicious cycle. You cascade the pressure and stress down to your one down, two downs, and then you become very mean to them. And then your bosses were very mean to you, and then you felt that it's okay to be mean to other people because this is how you get things done. So the meanness just like a waterfall. But I'm not saying my bosses are mean. I just feel that when people are bent on chasing numbers, profits, and just numbers and revenues, it can be very detrimental to the corporate culture.
So we have another question, which is, this viewer asked me, I know what caused your career change from entertainment to equity funds and then to entrepreneurship. How did you end up in private equity? Were there any trigger factors that led you to go down this path of finance?
No, it is a very classic case of beggars can't be choosers. You know how I told you, I sent out many resumes, all my dream jobs, and they just rejected me. So this equity job came because my ex-chairman of MediaCorp, he remembered me as someone who's very driven and overachiever, this scary woman that hits all her numbers and overachieved. So he was concerned when I told him, when I shared with him one day that I was still job hunting, and he was like, "Huh? It's been 5 months. You're still job hunting? That's really bad. Come back to Singapore, because in Singapore you can get a job much easier." And I said, "No, I want to live like a Parisian. I want to walk by the river. I want to take Instagram photos." Anyway, I was just being rubbish, and then he connected me, he hooked me up with one of his business partners, and that's how I got the job. So not through my own accolades, it's through connections. He pulled strings, and I was given a job. And then I had to learn from zero because I knew nothing about capital investment. But fortunately, in the past 7 years, my last 7 years with MediaCorp, I was in the business strategy team. So it was a good place to start. It was a very good stepping stone. But let me repeat again, beggars can't be choosers. I remembered, I told myself like, oh my God, I'm so going to die there. But remember my mantra of be fearless. I asked myself, what's the worst thing that can happen? You get fired within 3 days. You're so embarrassed, so malu, but that's the worst thing. And you will realize that you are the only person who's going to feel malu or embarrassed, because nobody knows. So I just told myself, okay, if I get fired, then I'll try again. But if I don't get fired, maybe I have a chance to learn. Yeah, that's
so,
it. And I had a backup plan, because my house, there were many restaurants near my house, and my backup plan was, when all else fails, I will go and interview for a waitress job. That I can do very well.
Not the baker job, the waitress job.
No, the waitress job.
Okay.
At least you won't die, at least you will have some income enough to pay your rent. Yeah.
So there's another question from Joanne here. So she asked, is it a lonely road to being an alpha female? So I think this is probably a question that a lot of, like our clients, like single ladies can relate to. How does that affect your relationship with men or even like male co-workers?
Yeah. So, that's why I'm still single. And I know it's very funny, but it's actually quite sad. So I don't know why you're laughing, but okay. No, when you're too strong, when you are so independent, men just run away. They look at you, okay, you can be quite pretty and all that, but then they look at you the way you're so decisive. I- it's true. It's my whole life, even when I was much younger and more beautiful in my showbiz years, I don't know why men were very frightened to be with me. And I had one or two relationships, and it just ended badly too, because they couldn't handle the attention whenever we were seen outside. Um, so they're always overshadowed, right? Because people will rush up and they would throw the cameras. At that time there were no handphones, so they will throw cameras into my ex-boyfriend's hands and ask him to take photos for us.
Oh,
So it's very hard for your partner to,
yes, to constantly be overshadowed.
yes, and to,
Mm-hmm.
to, to take in that kind of, to them, is quite a disrespectful scenario, like, because most of the time we were having a private dinner or
Yes.
private conversation, and then people were like, oh, and then my persona is so friendly. Like,
Yes.
I'm not the type that, I'm not the type like, uh I'm like this on TV, and in person I'm actually, I'm
Yes.
actually Faye Wong. No, no, I'm not. I'm Sharon Au, and in person I'm even more Sharon Au than ever. So I always loved mingling with my fans and people on the street. So my boyfriends will always go like, why do you always you know oblige and answer and take photos and spend so much time with them when we hardly had time to ourselves? Yeah. But in the end, I chose career over relationships, obviously. So there you go, the sad and tragic consequence of being single at age 44.
So we have Hebi who say here, many people love you, Sharon Au. Yeah.
Thank you.
And
Thank
then
you.
we have Valin and Sharon say, let Violet help you find a boyfriend.
I know. I
Mm,
know.
we
I met
will take it
Violet since
offline.
since Passion Unleashed. She promised to find me someone she hasn't. Obviously, even with her powers, she cannot find someone to match with me because I kept flying around. I'm never in
And
one
we
place.
have we have Eileen who say, I think you are most beautiful right now at 44.
You know why? I put a lot of mask because over the past 65 days of confinement, I had so much time at home. I just keep applying masks and all the cream that I can find in my cabinet. I do think I look better now. Oh, no, no, and also
So
Zoom has this very beautiful skin mode, right?
that's right, that's right.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
a
yeah.
very good, very important tick to
Yes,
put on Zoom. Yeah, improve.
yes.
What is it called? I can't remember. Make your
Improves.
appearance better.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So do not be fooled by what you see. This is just technology.
Yeah. Anyway, so we have a lot of people who are saying, like Joel is saying, I grew up watching your shows. Thank you. I have a lot of memorable TV shows back then. And then Sharon say, yes, we can use filter. Okay, so I think like right now we are all experiencing a lot of changes because of COVID-19, because of the lockdown, circuit breakers, social distancing, and I think a
Mm.
lot of us are experiencing a lot of different sort of feelings lah. And then people are also worried
Mm.
about losing their jobs or just different changes that are going to happen, right? So I think with
Mm.
your personal experience, like you have shared with us, in the last 45 minutes or so, you definitely have experienced so many different changes, be it your out of your personal choice, or be it of
Mm.
circumstances, when you were growing up. So what
Mm.
advice do you have for people who's coping with some of these changes right now? They might not have as many experiences as you when it comes to dealing with
Mm.
changes. Like what are some of the key mindsets that they should have when it comes to really coping with some of these changes?
Um, to look outwards. So don't focus on yourself. Just look out, where whatever out it is for you. Either you read the news or you go out and look at our social issues. Like I give one very good example. Whenever I feel that I was being bullied or I feel lonely, or when things are really going bad for me, I just have to take a walk on the streets of Paris, and you see the number of homeless people living on the streets, and suddenly, actually, like really within seconds, you just feel that you sort of feel embarrassed that you're like whining about your misfortune, because there are people who don't even have a shelter, who don't even have a fixed 3 meals, um, and who have to brave the cold in winter, sleeping in card boxes. So, and like recently, because we have been set free, so called, and I look at some of the issues, and when I was feeling angry and why we are so selfish, I looked at the news and I saw that the refugees in France, the number one thing that they need right now are actually soaps. They are lack of hand washing soaps. Something so simple that we take for granted. So suddenly, I again, it rocked me out of my own self indulgence state. I suddenly thought of like, okay, then we should go gather soap. So I started to Google online how to make soaps. My friends gave me very, very good recipes. So I realized we can actually make huge blocks of soaps and send to the refugee camps. So it's simple things like that. It's not, you don't have to read too many self-help books or meditate too much. It's just very simply looking out. And then, okay, maybe you see animals and pets on the streets, or just or very, very old people who are alone. Because in this society, I don't know why, but when they grew old, they are somehow always alone. And then you think about what you can do, and so so people say that, oh, other people's pain, you shouldn't compare, and you always feel that your pain and your sufferings are very real. But actually, I think we have really been very self-inward watching. If we get out of this selfish state, the world is actually much better if we can do something about it. So I know I sound very preachy, and it's one of those things I hate, because when I was depressed and then people tell me to go and look at other people, I really want to slap my psychiatrist. But I think that really helps. So maybe step one, take a walk. So get out of your apartment. Okay, I know it's impossible for you guys now. So you just look out of the window, and just look at the world outside. And if you really have no window, so watch TV, and then you will see all over the world, there are so many people who don't have the most basic things that we took for granted, like water, like clean drinking water.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
think definitely that's one of a very important mindset that Sharon has just shared with us, which is really a mindset of gratitude, to just realize that yes, even though things are very bad for us right now, but just by looking outwards and not just focusing on ourselves, we realize that there are a lot more people in a worse off situation than us, and sometimes by really focusing on helping them, it would also help us
Mm,
feel more uplifted and also
mm.
feel better as well.
Yeah. We have a formed so many chat groups over the past 2, 3 months because we have been confined. So I realized that was a trend. In the beginning, we will whine and whine and whine and whine about, what is not available. We can't do this, we can't do that. And then later on, the conversation start to change into sharing news of very unfortunate things that are happening around us in our neighborhood, not just other countries, but sometimes just in our very near vicinity. And then the conversations will morph into how should we help them, because we are rich. When I say rich, I don't mean we are millionaires, but we can buy them bread. We can come together and do something for the less fortunate, and just by helping your neighbors already, you save one, you save all.
Thank you for that. So we have another question here. I think someone who is maybe thinking of moving overseas, like what you have done for like at least 2 times, first to Japan and then to Paris. So what advice do you have for someone who is doing that to, somewhere totally unfamiliar for work?
Okay, be very, very patient and open. The first 6 months, you would definitely want to give up and go back to Singapore. For me, for Japan, I remember it took me 9 months. For the first 9 months, every night I cried and begged my manager to take me back. Like, Lian Hui, can you just come up with a press release and say that the audience miss me, because I cannot just come back on my own. It's very no face, I just did a big press conference telling people I'm retired, I'm going to pursue my university degree, and then I can't just come back. So first 9 months, terrible. So for France, it didn't take 9 months, because France, I was already like 40 in my 40s. So age plays a part in the maturity, but still, the first hurdle would be so tough, you would want to give up. So my advice is bite the bullet, go through that. Give yourself at least 1 year. You'll be surprised how many things which you found difficult becomes, from time, as time passes, second nature to you after a while. So be fearless, but be patient, and just call whoever you can call and cry, but don't buy the flight ticket to go home so soon. Don't give up so soon.
I think that's definitely awesome advice. So Sharon, how many years have you been in France now?
It's 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
February 2018.
So how
just
long?
2 years, few months. Yeah.
How long more do you plan to be in Paris?
Same thing, because I spent 6 years in Japan. I gave myself 6 years in France, because I think you need to give yourself a certain number of years to simulate into the culture. Now I'm still in the complaining stage. Everything is
Okay.
I hate them. Okay, but it'll take me. So I give myself 6 years. And also because in 6 years' time, my mom will be very old, so I better go back, because I'm the only child. So, I can't be so selfish. I need to go back and take care of her. Yeah.
So another 6 years.
Another 6 years. But frankly, I would really, I look forward to going to my next city, because I feel that every city you go to force you to grow and discover something new about yourself. But going back to Singapore, then I always go back to square one. It's my comfort home, So I don't grow that much when I'm there.
I think Sharon is like, I think maybe this is something that many of our listeners, or even like myself, struggle with, which I think, like we really want to hear from you or learn from you, right? Because it's like for a lot of people, it's like they're struggling, they want to get to a point where they feel comfortable, they feel accomplished, right? But like what we are hearing from you is that you are constantly like, once you get there, you constantly like challenge yourself. Like, and I think one of the things that people really worry about is of course the big F word, right? Which is fear. Yeah.
I thought really, failure.
Yeah. So it's failure. Like, it's really the fear of even taking that step, like, and fear of failure, fear of, like, not making it, of fear of a lot of different things, right? Like how do you even get past that goalpost? Because I think a lot of people don't even get past that, not to say to even, take that 4 years, 5 years, or 6 years
Yeah.
journey.
You see, the fear of failure or the fear of falling can be overcome. Okay, you don't believe me, you go and ride a bicycle now. Your first, you were afraid of your first fall, right? But then when you realize, okay, when you have actually fallen 3, 4, 5, 6 times, when you kept falling,
Yeah.
then you realize that actually it's just like that lah. I mean, it's like you fall and it's painful. Maybe there's some blood and, you scrape your precious skin. I felt that way. I mean, when I came to France, I started ice skating because during winter, they have
Yes.
huge
The big
open space,
square and parks, and
skating rings,
yes.
yeah, and then very
Yes, yes.
romantic, right? Very
Yeah.
romantic. So
Yes.
I thought like I should skate and then take beautiful pictures of myself and post on Instagram. But then I
Yes.
realized I don't know how to skate. So I just told myself, just learn so that you can post beautiful pictures. No, it was a mistake. So I learned and I kept falling. And I remember when you first fell, it was like the biggest thing, and you get discouraged. But then when you realize that all you can do is fall, and that's the worst thing that can happen to you. And then when you disregard the people looking at you, especially little kids who are just wondering why you are just so clumsy, when they are like a
And they are like
swan and
just
you just,
skating, like, whoa, yeah.
they're just like that, and they're just like, oh, mama, what happened to her? She's falling again, Okay, if you disregard all the embarrassing looks from other people, disregard your pain, then you realize that there's actually nothing to fear. So I'm very proud to announce that now I can skate and take
Yay.
beautiful pictures of myself skating. Before
Wow.
that,
So now
I
you can,
skate.
like, one
Yeah,
hand take photo and
yeah,
then the
yeah,
other
yeah.
hand. Wow.
Yeah, before that, the other hand hold handphone, then you fell. Phone
Yes.
also break, cracked. No, like it's really the fear of falling. I remember during one of the Star Awards, this was a very deeply imprinted memory for me, because you know how in Star Awards the opening, it was very grand, right? You
Yes.
da, 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 da. Then you walk out in the gown and 5-inch heels. So it's
Yes.
like a biggest moment for you because you come out, right?
Yes.
And I remember for all of us, all of the actresses, our number one fear was tripping on the long gowns and the heels. And you must remember that those gowns were borrowed or sponsored, so you
Yes.
don't have chance to practice walking with them. So that
Yes.
night will probably be the first time you don and the first time you walk that da, 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 da. So I remember we all were so afraid of falling. That was like the worst thing that could happen. It was like a curse. But nobody fell. But one year, Jaslyn Tay fell. And we were like, oh, like, we felt so sorry for her. And it sounded very painful too, because she fell, tripped, and stumbled. And this is all on stage, live on TV. But what was very extraordinary for us was of course, she was shaken. I think she was more shaken and in pain than embarrassed. But she just pulled herself up, stood up tall as a statue, and just continued walking. And that night, she went on to win the trophy. And I remembered her speech was, in life, when you fall, you just pick yourself up, no matter how painful and horrible it is. Don't care about what other people are looking or wondering or feeling, for you. So that was when I was in my 20s, and that fall really sort of morphed my personality too. That I look up to women like that, not afraid to embarrass themselves, just let their work speak for themselves.
Wow. Bravo. So, like, I agree with Hui Fen. Hui Fen say bravo to Sharon Ao.
Bravo to Jaslyn Tay. Because
Okay, so yeah, go ahead.
no, because I fell once and I never stood up. I just cried and sat there forever.
Okay, so all my interviews end with this part, where
Okay.
we talk about love. So what does true love mean to you?
Okay, this is like a this question is such a philosophical one, because to me, love, there's no true or false. Love is grand. So love itself consists of truth, honesty, and unconditional giving. So I hope that answers your question. But if you can find someone in your life whom you can care for so much at this super level, and vice versa, if someone in your life is showing you so much love and honesty, we should always cherish them and never let them go. Grab them and never let them go.
Thank you, Sharon, for that. Thank you so much. We have a question from Eileen. Would you be comfortable to meet guys over dating apps in Paris?
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know why I'm so conservative. All my friends are already on some, matchmaking apps, even just friends apps. And in fact, I have 3 successful examples in France, whom they got married to their other halves, now with kids, and they met through that app. I can't remember what's that name, some burger lobster app. Sorry, that's the restaurant.
Coffee
Okay,
meets
sorry.
bagel.
Oh yeah. Why did I say burger lobster? What is wrong with me? Okay. Yeah, so I do see very successful examples.
Yes.
But I don't know why I cannot. I am so shy. Maybe because I'm so beautiful, I'm afraid that I'll get so many.
You will. I'm sure if you go on the app, you'll be flooded by messages. So we have Yvonne here who say Violet needs to expand to France for Sharon. Okay.
Yeah. If it's Violet, I trust. If it's Violet, I trust, because her apps, and she has very stringent criteria, and she can match. She can match make properly. I don't trust the other ones because a bit weird.
Yeah, okay, we'll look into that. And Carol said, I hope that Sharon will meet a tall, dark Parisian guy this year.
I hope so too. But I've dated 2 Parisian guys so far in my last 25 years. They are so romantic. So the love is so explosive, right? But when it ends, it's also very explosive and sudden. So it's a give and take thing. You want romance, but it will also end suddenly without knowing why. So I think I still prefer Singaporean men, because stable, maybe not romantic, don't know how to open doors for you, but at least they are stable. At least they are just truthful.
So on that note, I think we do have many Singaporean guys who has tuned in. So yeah. Well, okay. So now Sharon thinks that Singaporean guys are stable, truthful. I have to agree because my husband is Singaporean.
Yeah.
So on that note,
my friends
Sharon,
are all happily married.
Yeah. So Sharon, thank you so much for spending the last hour with us. Time flies, it's already 10. But I think, all of our participants today, I really learned, a lot from you, as usual. So some of the things that you have shared that I think, we can all really continue to do is really look at the silver lining. So, one of the things that you have shared, even though in your childhood, there have been a lot of ups and downs, and sometimes there are also challenges, or maybe times that you are probably feeling very down, but you always look at the silver linings, and you have shared that because of your childhood, you have learned to really read people very well. You can read their mood very well, and that has actually helped you, as you progress in your career, be it in as a celebrity, or even now in a corporate world as well. And another thing, like you have shared, is that always have check and balances. So that is so important, because again, you're just so humble and you're just so real, right? So I think you were saying that sometimes when we have successes, it can kind of get into our head. So we just need to really have check and balances to help us realize, like, okay, where we are, or maybe just bring us a bit back down to earth. And I think you did share also, that's why it's just so important to have good friends around us to just help keep our sanity. And the other thing, that you you keep asking, and actually this is also one of my favorite questions to ask as well. And I think, some of the participants have been asking, why did you make some of the leaps that you have made, right? So one of the favorite questions that you like to ask is, what is the worst thing that can happen?
Yeah, you notice, right? It's always,
Yeah, so
this is my favorite
yeah.
question.
Yeah, so I think, for all our participants out there today, because we do have some participants who say, oh, today we didn't talk so much about dating, but I think it's not so much about really talking about tips and advice on dating all the time, but it's really about the mindset as well. So I think this is very applicable, like Sharon has just mentioned. What is the worst thing that can happen? So if you're thinking about this next date, you're not so sure, yeah, ask yourself, what is the worst thing that can happen? Or even after you have gone on like one date with this guy or this girl, and then you are not sure, should I go on a second date? Yeah, what's the worst thing that can happen, right? So when you start asking yourself those questions, it really gives you a different perspective. And the other one that I really like, is really your motto, right? Which is be fearless. Yeah, so whatever happens, like just really be fearless, put yourself out there. And of course, the anecdote that you have shared with us about Jaslyn Tay, about really, it's not so much about how many times you fall, but it's really about how many times you pick yourself up.
Exactly.
Yeah, so thank you so much. We have learned so much from you today, and those of you who agree, please let us know in the chat. Have you enjoyed today's webinar with Sharon? Have you learned something from Sharon today? If you have, say love, love, love. Okay, let's see.
And I'm concerned because there are so many questions written here. Will they all be wiped out after we exit? Because I want to answer them. Is there a way to document them? Because I realized I didn't, so many questions I didn't answer.
Yes,
I just keep talking and talking
I know.
and talking. Oh no.
So next time when we have Sharon on, we need to have 2 hours. 1 hour is not enough. So Eileen say, please answer them. Love the show. I really learned lots, and some people say, yes, 2 hours, please. And Joanne say, yes, this applies to everything, career, love, life. Audrey say, will we have another session with you again? So like Sharon, she's awesome. Like she's always telling people that do send her messages in Instagram or even Facebook. She's very friendly and she always reply. But not to worry, Sharon. I'm not sure how we're going to do this, but we will definitely have all the questions. I'm not sure how we're going to reply to everybody. We need to kind of figure it out. We have Andrea who say, thank you, Sharon. I'm your Sanix Xue Mei. So proud of all your achievements. And then we have Donna who say, is distance relationship fine for you? Not sure what is the his intentions, but yes, I'm not sure. You can message Sharon to see to explore more. Yes, so thank you guys. I mean, this has been super awesome, and I know Sharon is very busy because for us it's in the middle of the night, but for Sharon, she's actually still in the daytime, and she told me she needed to arrange for her next meetings, and she has more meetings to attend as well. So okay, Sharon, I'll try and see how I can get all the questions
keep all
to you.
Maybe I wouldn't exit here, and
not to worry. I mean, like our team members. I mean, Christina, our head of PR, who's behind the scenes today. We will grab everything. We'll see how to get them over to you. And I mean, if there's an opportunity, we are definitely happy to have you back. See, that's like the messages keep coming in right now. So thank you guys. Like for all your participation, all your questions. Like I say, it has been awesome having you, and also for all of you who are tuning in today, like for those of you who are looking to maybe have some changes in your life as well, when it comes to dating, we are actually offering a virtual coaching session, complimentary for you if you would like to find out a bit more about how to be the best version of yourself. So if you're interested in that, what you can do right now is just to send in your name, your contact number, and also your email in the chat right now, and one of our coaches will get back to you to arrange a session with you. Or if you have any other questions for us, you can also just send us an email at love@lunchactually.com. So I think, like for some of you, you might have some dating questions that unfortunately today we are not able to answer because today we are talking about coping with changes. So you can always just send us an email there at love@lunchactually.com. And let me see what else. Yes, definitely if there's enough interest, we'll definitely try and see how we can get Sharon back with us. And Sharon, I don't want to take up your time because I know you have meetings to go to. Once again, thank you so much for being with me today.
Okay.
We really had a great time and we really enjoyed yourself. So you have a great week ahead and I'll catch up with you when you're back in Singapore.
Okay.
Yes,
Bye,
thank you,
everybody.
Sharon.
Take care.
Okay,
Take care,
bye.
everyone. Bye
Take
bye.
care. Bye.